In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a GPT that allows you to pull real emails from your inbox, draft replies, and send them without leaving ChatGPT. This can be accomplished by using the Actions feature, and I'm going to show you step by step how to get it done in this video. First, I just want to show you how it works and that you don't even have to leave ChatGPT in order to accomplish this. So I have this big button in my GPT that I added called Fetch Daily Report. Once I hit Fetch Daily Report, what it's going to do is scour my inbox, and it's going to connect to make.com to go to my email collection system. And then it's going to actually pull real emails from my inbox. This is not information I put in the custom instructions. This is live data that is coming in. And as you can see, I have 6 new emails in my inbox. And ChatGPT asks me, which one do you want to tackle first? All I have to do in order to respond is give a number. So I could just say 5, for instance. And what I have ChatGPT do is draft me up a couple of different responses. It gives me the entire email details from the subject, the sender name, the sender email, and the email body. And then it gives me those suggested responses, showcasing different interest or maybe politely declining whatever that email has. So as you can see, it says option 1, express interest and request more details. Option 2, suggest a call. Option 3, decline politely. And then all you have to do is type in which option you want. Of course, you can revise these options, but I could just say, for instance, option 2. And when I say option 2, what it will do is actually send that email for me and create a draft reply in the exact same thread. So all I have to do is hit confirm. And without leaving ChatGPT, it says your response has been sent to Jamie regarding the sponsorship opportunity for the AI webinar series. And then we just go on and tackle the other emails. So now I can just say partnership opportunity. And this just speeds up the flow of emails so much, and you can really customize this thing to make it respond like you as well. But I just really love the speed because you can absolutely rip through emails when all you have to do is type in numbers and let ChatGPT do the work of sending them for you and drafting up good responses every single time. So I'll hit confirm, and in a matter of 15 to 20 seconds, I've got 2 emails sent with the help of this GPT. And as you can see, this is a real email inbox. I can have these emails send automatically, or I can make them as draft replies. So what I did is made them drafts. So anytime I send off an email from here, it will create a draft in that same thread responding to this specific email. This is what we're going to be building today. That's what this video is going to be about. And I am going to show you literally everything, how it's working behind the scenes, how to build it, and how to get this up and running for your work life or your personal life. Now, if you're someone who wants to fast track this process and you don't want to just sit down and build out the entire thing alone, then I recommend joining my AI Foundations community where I have all of the resources for this template. If you go to the classroom and head down to the GPT Automations, as you can see, there are many more different automations I'm going to be adding in this community as well, and probably not posting on YouTube. But what I have here is a 8-module process of me building this thing out, and I don't only build it out with you and really hold your hand step by step, but I also give you a bunch of instructions to copy. I give you all of the schema that you're going to need to use in order to get this up and running. And I also give you the Notion template that you can just download rather than having to build here, and all the make blueprints that come along with this so you don't have to build out these automations alone and from scratch. I'll leave a link in the description that will look something like this and the top pinned comment that will look something like that. If you want to join, I highly recommend it. It's much more than just building out this automation. I mean, the community has an entire classroom of 75 modules, a community that posts about news every day, AI techniques, and so much more. And we also have live calls. So definitely check that out if you want to speed up this video, and also if you want to stay in tune for future automations. Let me show you the back end of how everything is running. So what we have here is the first automation that we're going to build. This watches your email inbox and creates a page in a Notion database. We're essentially creating a new inbox in our Notion. That way we can pull in all of our email and all of its contents to our GPT. It's much easier doing it this way rather than trying to pull directly from your inbox. So I'm going to show you how to build this automation. I'm going to show you how to set up your inbox on Notion. And then we have this automation that we're also going to be building out in Make. And this is how we're actually contacting our GPT in order to pull information from our Notion database, and it will bring it back into the GPT for us. Again, if you don't really want to build this, we have all of these blueprints in our school community. So you can just come down here, import blueprint, choose file, upload it, open, and then it's pretty much built for you. All you have to do is make the connections as I show you in the tutorials. And the last thing we're going to be doing is connecting to Zapier in order to send a post request to our Gmail and reply to it, and then update our Notion database item from not reviewed to replied so that it moves into the replied section here. We're also going to be building a GPT. I'm going to show you how to easily come up with a name, profile picture, description, instructions, and I'm also going to show you some techniques for uploading knowledge. That way you can really get these emails custom. Also, we're going to be adding in 2 sets of actions, one's to receive our emails and one's to post our emails. Now, the very first thing that you want to do is create a Notion account. You can do this for free. And you want to create a page for Notion, an inbox, in order to collect your emails. I'll show you how to do that now. Make sure you get to an empty Notion page, and you can name this whatever. I'll just name it the inbox of Drake, and then I can make this page full width. And then what I want to do is create a backend database. So I'll just type /page. At the bottom, I'm going to go make this a table, and then you can name your database. This is where all of our emails are going to be stored, and each row is a page. I'm just going to name this the mailroom. I can give it a nice icon of some mail right here. Maybe I'll do that little paper airplane. That looks good. And now we need to create some properties for our database. These are going to be all of the items that we're pulling into our GPT. So first, we obviously want a subject. So I can just rename this text field to subject, and that will also be the title of our Notion page. Next, I'm going to click on this property that says tags, hit edit property, and make sure that type is on select. Here, I can just name this status, and then I can add some properties for that status of not reviewed, and then I can add one for replied. And we can just go those 2 statuses right now, and we'll just keep it simple. You can even change the color of them if you'd like. Red, not reviewed. We can make replied green. I'm going to hit this plus button and create a new property, and I'm just going to type in text on the side here, and I'm going to name this property sender email. That way we know who sent the email. And we can also just duplicate this property right here and have sender name. That's important. And then another property we can actually just duplicate the sender name property and then just name this thread ID. This is where we're going to store the thread ID for our Gmail account. Beautiful. Those are all the properties we need. Now let's get a nice front-end view of this back-end database. I'm just going to go back to my homepage here on the inbox of Drake. I'm going to type in /2 columns, create 2 columns here, and I'm going to type in /callout. And on the other side, I'm also going to type /callout. Here are going to be my back-end databases. If I ever have multiple databases, I will store them here. And actually, what I want to do is just drag this all the way over. And now we can create a linked view of our backend database. I'm going to type in /create, and linked view of database will pop up, and make sure you map it to the database you just created. So I'm just going to type in mailroom and select mailroom. Now it's pulling this database to the front. I can hide the database title. I can rename this view to not reviewed. These are going to be the emails that I see that I haven't reviewed yet. And I can give it a little emoji, maybe an X in the cloud. Beautiful. And I don't need to see the thread ID here, so I can just hide that by right-clicking it and hit hide in view. And then you can drag these properties around and position them really however you want to position them. That will be good for now. And I want to add a filter on this view so I only see the emails that have a status of not reviewed. So what I'm going to do is filter that out for status and then select not reviewed. And now I am going to duplicate this view of not reviewed by right-clicking and hitting duplicate. And then I'm going to change this to replied, so I know that I've actually replied to those emails. And when our database is filtering itself, it doesn't pull in the same email to our GPT twice. I'm going to have a little check mark for replied, and I'm going to change the filter up here by hitting those 3 lines from not reviewed to replied. Beautiful. So now we have a not reviewed and a replied category. And what we can do now is we can actually pull emails into this database from make.com. So what we can do is we can go to make.com now that our database is set up, and we can hit create a new scenario. Here what you want to do is you want to connect your Gmail account. So type in Gmail where the modules are, and then select Gmail. And we want to watch emails so that whenever a new email is in our inbox, we can pull it to that Notion database we just created. So you probably will not have a connection. So what you want to do here is hit add, and then you can name it whatever you want. I'm going to name this tutorial Gmail, and I'm going to spell everything wrong. I'm going to rename that, and then hit sign in with Google. Make sure you're doing this on a non@Gmail account unless you want to go through a lot more of a process and connect to the Google Cloud API, which is a pain. I recommend just doing this on a work email or an email that isn't connected to Gmail. So I'm going to do it on one of my work emails here, and then I'm going to hit continue and allow. And this is going to connect your Gmail and your entire inbox to make.com so you can manipulate it here. And the next thing you want to do is select a folder for all of your emails. So what folder do you want this automation to watch and pull emails from? Well, I like doing all mail, but if you have labels or different things you organize your inbox with, then you can select those. But what I want to do is just select all mail, and we can just have a simple filter with the criteria being only unread emails so that you're not pulling in any read emails as well. So I'm going to make that only unread. We can leave this as no, and I'll make maximum number of results 20. This is how many emails are going to be pulled in. I am just going to hit OK and OK again. This module is set up. Now we need to connect it to our Notion database so it can pull in those emails. So I will select add another module here, and then I'm going to hit Notion. And what we want to do with Notion is we want to create a database item. So I'm going to select create a database item. And then here you're going to want to add a Notion connection. So you can hit add, connection type, Notion public, and you can name your connection here. So I'm just going to name my connection and hit save. And then you need to connect to your Notion database that we just created. You need to give make access. So I'm going to hit select pages, and I want to give access to the inbox of Drake so that it can manipulate and add pages and pull content from that database. And I'm going to hit allow access. This is going to give make.com the reins to your Notion page. Then what we want to do for database ID is go grab our database name, exactly how it's spelled, and we can just do a query search here and paste in our database name, and it will autofill our database ID if we have our page properly connected. Here we can add in things from the Gmail that will be automatically filled in once a page is created, and we can use makes dynamic field function in order to do this. So for subject, what you want to do is select in here, and you want to hit the subject of that Gmail. For sender name, same thing. You just want to select sender name. As you can see, that make module over there for Gmail is blinking. That means you're pulling information from that. Sender email, you want to type in email address. You don't want to type it in, you actually want to click it. For thread ID, make sure you pull in that thread ID. All of these things are labeled in here. Once you actually click in the field, you can see that this automatically has all of this stuff. So down here at the bottom, it says thread ID. You want to select that. That way you can actually reply in the thread rather than sending a separate email. For status, we just want to put that on not reviewed, and then we can hit OK. And you might be wondering, what are we going to do with the body content of the email? We've only pulled in subject, sender name, email, and thread ID. Well, that's what we're going to do in the next step. So we want to create another Notion module actually. So you can hit that plus button and hit Notion. And what you want to do is append page content. So you can type that in, append a page content. That's the module you want. And this is going to actually append the body content of the email to the body content of the Notion page down here, because in these properties, they don't have enough character room in order to fulfill that email request. So up here, what we want to do is we want to pull our page ID from the last Notion module right here, and that's the database item ID. Database item ID and page ID are the same thing, so we can pull that. And then we want to add a content object. So you can hit add item. For the type, we want it to be paragraph text. We don't want heading 1s or heading 2s. Let's just make it paragraph text. And from there, it's going to have you add another item for this paragraph text. So now that we've selected the type that we want it to be typed in paragraph form. So if I come in here and type, this is paragraph form. We don't want it to be typed in heading form like this. So we're just selecting the type, but now we have to pull in the content right here that we actually want in that paragraph form. So I can collapse this Notion module, and we want to pull the body content of this email. So we can either pull the HTML if you want to get into it, or we can just pull the text content. For now, I'm just going to pull the text content, and that's all we need to do there. We can hit OK, and you can rename these modules if you want in order to stay organized. So I can say watches emails. Here I can put creates page for emails, and here I can put adds email body to page if you just want to stay organized. And now you can hit save. I would make sure to definitely hit save as you're going so you don't lose your progress. And here you can actually turn on scheduling and set schedules at certain intervals if you want, so that it's pulling from your email box every 15 minutes, every 10 minutes, whatever it is in order to add it to your database. For this tutorial, I'm just going to make sure that I just hit run once and I can pull in emails whenever I'd like. I'm not going to schedule it out since this is my example page. But what you want to do now is go send yourself a couple of test emails to the email that you have connected here. Maybe just 2 or 3, that way you have some information to pull in. Once you're done with that, come back to the tutorial and we can begin actually sending data to our database on Notion here. So I hope you've sent those emails. If you did now, make sure you save your automation here and then just refresh the page so we can get a clean start and you can actually pull in those emails that you just sent yourself. I'm going to click in here and then I'm going to right click this Gmail module and hit choose where to start. We're going to run a test automation to see if our progress has paid off. I'm going to hit choose where to start and select the first email. Here you're going to be able to select the emails you just sent yourself. And let's just say, since these are all of my emails, it's okay, but I can select this email, and if I select the third one down, then it will pull in everything above it. So if I select 8 down, it'll pull in 8 emails. But since I'm selecting 3 down, it's going to pull in 3. Only if the limit that you put in this module is greater than the amount that you're selecting. So I'm going to go 3 down, and then I'm going to hit OK. And now you can run this once to see if it's pulling the content to your Notion pages. As you can see, it's going to run 3 times since I had 3 emails lined up. And when I go to my inbox of Drake, as you can see, all of these emails, once I refresh, are pulling in just fine. And keep in mind, they're not in the replied category because we set up that filter to only have replied emails in here. They're only showing up in the not reviewed section. And when we hit open, the body of the email is down here on the page. Beautiful. Next, what we need to do is, for one, you can rename this if you'd like for watches emails or whatever you want to name your make automation just to keep yourself organized. I'll just name that watching emails, or watches emails rather. And then what we need to do is we actually need to create another scenario. And this is going to be a scenario that communicates with our GPT via a webhook and then searches our Notion databases for all the items that we have within and only the ones that are on not reviewed. So hit create a new scenario in the upper right hand corner. And then what you want to type in is webhooks. Once you select webhooks, what you want to click is custom webhooks. So I'm going to select that now. And here, what you want to do is hit add, and then you can just name this really whatever, my tutorial webhook, and then I'll name it ECS for email collection system. Hit show advanced settings, turn on get request headers and get request HTTP method, and then select save. Right now it's listening for data, but we do not have a data structure for our webhook yet. So we will just ignore this for now by hitting stop, and we're going to redetermine that data structure later. But for now, I'm just going to hit OK, and that way we can get all of our other modules out there that we need. We will have to come back to that though, so make sure you don't forget. Then what we want to do is create a Notion module. So I'm going to hit add and then select Notion, and we want to search objects. So type in search and then objects should come up. You want to select that, and you can connect it to the webhooks if you want. Actually, right now, what we'll do is we will unlink these and drag the lightning bolt onto Notion so we can just mess around and pull in objects from our Notion database. Click into this module and let's get it set up. You want to find your connection you set up in the beginning, the one that watched the emails and threw it into the Notion database. So I believe mine was tutorial Drake ESC. So I'm going to select that connection. And then for the database ID, you want to do the same thing that we did. You want to go back to whatever you named your database. I named mine mailroom, and you can just do a query search here of mailroom when you have your connection all loaded up. And we have another limit down here at the bottom. This is how many times or how many objects it's actually going to search. So if you want to search 20 emails and pull in 20 to your GPT or whatever the number is, then I recommend you do that. Just put your maximum limit for how many times you want this thing to run. And for filter, we want to select the filter of status, and this drop down beneath it, we can put equals, and we want it to say not reviewed because that's what our select property is, and we only want the not reviewed emails coming in through these objects. So make sure you type it in the exact way your status property is typed in. And next, after that status, what you want to do is add a sort. So I'm going to hit add sort, and then I'm going to go timestamp created time ascending, and then I'm going to hit OK. And now we can run once to check if our objects are pulling in here. So I'm going to hit run once. And as you can see, we have all of our pages. We have 3 bundles in here, which means it pulled in 3 different emails because each email is considered its own bundle in our inbox. So that's working good. We can move on to creating the next Notion module. The next Notion module we want to create is list page contents, because list page contents is going to actually pull the body of that page. And the body of the page, if you remember right, when we open, contains the actual email itself. So we need to pull that in right now. I'm going to select on this module right here and make. And what I want to do is actually map the page ID. So we can map it dynamically to the pages that are coming in from this module. So where it says page ID, I'm just going to select that. And we can set our limit once again to 20 if that's what we're doing, or however many max number of results you want to come in. And then we can hit OK. After we have list page contents, what we want to do is one more time just run through this so we can pull some content to that list page contents. That way we have some information to pull for our next tool, which is going to be a text aggregator. So go down to your tools section and type in text aggregator. This is going to aggregate multiple strings of information into one text. We can click into this tool and make sure the source module is on search objects. We can hit show advanced settings. For row separator, we want new row, and we want to group by bundle order position from list page contents. After this, we can go down and we can label everything. So here we want to label all of the information we want to pull into our GPT, starting with subjects. We can type in subject, put a colon, and then enter down. And then we want to find subject under the search objects module. And that will be under properties value, subject, text, and then we want to select content. We just want to do that with pretty much every single one of our properties here. So next I could put sender name, enter that down, and then just pull in the sender name from the search objects module text and content. Next we want to pull in sender email, enter, and then we want to do the exact same thing. It's really just rinse and repeat here with all of our properties. Next, we can do the email body. This one's going to be a little bit different since we have to pull from the list page contents module instead of the search objects module. So I'm going to open up the list page contents module, go under the paragraph text, select down rich text, text, and then content. That's our email body. I can now close that since we're done with it. Open up search objects, and now we need a couple more things for maintenance. So I'm going to enter down, type in page ID, and then I'm going to enter, and then I'm going to find this page ID, which is right here up top. Next thing we need is a database ID. So I'm going to type in database ID, colon, enter, and I'm going to go under the parent section and find database ID here. The last thing we need is the thread ID. So I'm going to type in thread ID, and this is the thread ID from the Gmail that we pulled in from a couple of automations ago, our very first watch email automation. That's going to be found under search objects, properties value, and then it's going to be under the thread ID section right here because this is a property we have in Notion. I'm going to drop down text and hit content. And now all of our data should be pulling in dynamically here. I'm going to hit OK, and it should connect to everything. We need one more tool here in the flow control, and that is an array aggregator. You can find array aggregator just by typing in array. And once you type in array, just hit flow control, and it will pop up as an array aggregator. And what we need to do is make sure the source module is on text aggregator and select key and text for our aggregated fields. I can hit OK. And now this thing is pretty much ready to go, but we need to determine our data structure of this automation so that the webhook knows what information to give to the GPT. So we can do that by clicking into our webhook and make sure we hit redetermine data structure. Then I'm going to the part in my classroom where I have my URL data structure for webhook, and all I have to do is replace the path. You can copy this if you want. And where it says your path here, for me, I'm going to copy my URL path, which is this right here. And I don't need the backslash included because that is already included for us in this address. But Make is essentially listening for us right now to send off this request with our unique database ID in here. And what we have here is just defined properties that we want to send our GPT. %20s equals spaces, and we just have key value pairs right here. So subject equals your space, subject space here. And we separate those parameters with an ampersand. But that should be good. And when your query parameter URL is ready, make sure that you just hit enter. Make sure you define all your properties similar to how I have, and this is the structure you want. Now when I hit enter and send it off, as you can see, we get a message that says accepted. So when we head back to our make automation, you can see that the webhook has been successfully determined. So I can hit OK. move the watch icon onto my webhook, and then I can connect the Notion module to that webhook. Beautiful. Now we need one more thing, and that is a webhook response. We can do the webhook response by selecting the webhooks module down here and going to actions and selecting webhook response. This is the information that's going to be pulled into our GPT via this webhook response. So what we want to do is we want to pull information from the array aggregator, since that was the last module in this sequence. We can leave status on 200. And now, as you can see, once we determined our data structure, when I click in here, we now have all of these unique properties that we can pull from and use. What we want to do in the body, though, is we want to head under the flow control array, and we want the text. And each array text is going to be one email. So if we want 20 emails ported in here, then we're going to need to do this 20 times and just replace your numbers with what email number it is. So I can go text 3, and you can see it's a very similar process. So I could just essentially copy and paste this, and I could just keep going down the list. All I want is a number in between each one signifying which bundle it is. And I'm just going to literally go until I hit 20 array text, and I'm going to have them labeled with that number in between, just like that. So now we have 20 of these in here. That means it will give me 20 max responses. Just depends on how many emails you want. Make sure you change it accordingly. And that's all good to go. So now I can hit OK. And in order to test our webhook, what we need to do to see if it's pulling in data is just to send it off again. And we can send it off again just literally by copying it, going to a new tab, and sending it off. This time we're not hitting redetermine data structure. We determine the data structure with that first send off, and we can see if it works with a second send off. And as you can see, it says there is no scenario listening for this webhook. Simple fix. All you have to do is go back to your make and make sure you turn scheduling on and then hit save. Once you do that, now immediately as data arrives, this webhook will trigger. So let's send data to it manually. Right now, us manually sending this long URL with the query parameters is actually us triggering the webhook. But instead of triggering it with the GPT, we're just triggering it ourselves. So I'll send this off again, and it should reply back with information from our Notion database. So as you can see, it's replying back with subject, sender name, sender email, email body, regards, and it's replying back with all the emails in our Notion database. Beautiful. So we know that the webhook and the webhook response is working. So now that we have this done, we can save this automation, and that's beautiful. We can rename this if we want to call it maybe webhook to GPT. And now we need to connect this to a GPT. So this is the part where we're actually getting in our ChatGPT space and setting up our very fun GPT. We're going to take a break from all of the data and all of this stuff, and we're going to go to the GPT here. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT, and I'm going to, in the upper right-hand corner, select My GPTs. And from there, what I can do is I can hit Create a GPT. Here we get to name our GPT, descriptions, instructions, conversation starters, and all the fun stuff that's going to make this email inbox come to life. What I like to do is I like to open up another tab of ChatGPT. And instead of being in the GPTs, I like to start a new chat. And then I like to tell ChatGPT to give me 10 witty names for an email virtual assistant. And I can send that off, and it's going to give me those 10 witty names for a virtual email assistant. So we can just call this the reply wizard. Beautiful. And I can hit the quotes on this and say, give me a 1-sentence description talking about how cool this is. And I can send that off. So now we have our description and our name just like that. So I can paste in the description real quick to our GPT, and I can make sure that's capitalized. Beautiful. And now I can copy in the name as well. So now we have a name and a description. And what I like doing for the profile picture is just copying the name and the description and going to Grok. And I love using the Flux One model on here. So I'm just going to say, generate me a minimalistic logo for my brand. And then I'll just paste in whatever it is that I have for my name and my description here, and it will generate me a pretty solid logo usually on the first try. Just like that, we have Reply Wizard. So now I can save this image and I can actually use it in my GPT. And now I'm going to upload that Reply Wizard photo. And just like that, we have a beautiful logo, description, and title without even thinking about it. For instructions, right now we can just skip that. For a conversation starter though, we can say something like fetch emails, and this will be the send off command for ChatGPT to fetch emails for us. Then we want to add in schema. So I'm going to go back to my resources that I have here. These help me out a lot. The schema is going to allow us to connect to make.com and actually call our webhook with this GPT. So if you remember how we pasted in the webhook to a URL, that's essentially what all of this is doing, except it's aggregating that data from the URL and allowing us to contact and trigger that webhook in ChatGPT. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go to our GPT that we just created, and I'm going to hit create new action. And then I'm going to paste in that schema. And here what we want to do is we get an error, but that's just because we need to put our proper path in here for our webhook. And we can do that by going back to the integration that we made into Notion from webhook to GPT. And we can click on our webhook and grab our unique path in the back half of our webhook after the backslash here. And we actually want to add in the backslash. So I'm going to hit Control C, and then I'm going to go to our GPT, and under paths where it says your webhook here, I'll put this schema down in the description. What you can do is you can paste it in just like that. Boom. Now we have the ability to actually test to see if it can fetch those emails, and we don't even have to have any instructions in here right now. So I can hit test, and what we're going to have to do is hit always allow on this, or just allow whatever one you want. And it's going to call that HTTP endpoint and talk to make in order to pull in all of our emails. So the API call returned 3 email entries with the following details, and then it lists out all 3 of those email entries just like that, straight from our Notion database. So if I were to add in another property here and say hello, and then I were to put example at example.com, actually, that's for the sender email, so I'll put that there. And then this person's name can be example. And then I were to put some body content in here like, yo. What it would do now if I tested this out, is that it would actually pull that in. So if I hit test again, what it's going to do is pull in not 3 emails, but 4, since we added it to our Notion inbox. And remember, our Notion inbox can be updating every 10 minutes with new emails that are arriving if we set it up that way in the schedule section. So let's take a look at our GPT, see if it pulls it in. As you can see, it's pulling in now our hello with our body. That simple. Beautiful. So now that we have that, let's actually set up some instructions to make this GPT a little bit more custom. You can really make these instructions however you want. I just have simple instructions in my classroom. So in my instructions, I'm going to paste them in, and now it knows when I hit fetch emails to respond in a certain way. So beforehand, it just responded in code blocks, and it kind of talked in this weird way and didn't really have a fun way of walking through my emails. But now I don't even have to go hit test, right? I used to have to go in here and hit test to fetch my emails, but now I have this custom button with functionality that says fetch emails, and it will work based on my instructions. So as you can see, that's all I have to do. Now when I publish this GPT, I can hit fetch emails, and it's going to fetch all my emails and give me a snippet of what the email says, who it's from, in the subject line as well. And it asks me this custom line, which email do you want to tackle first? The system is simple. I type in a number, and then it gives me the full email and suggestions on how to respond. That's just something I like setting up, suggestions on how to respond in the instructions, and also just the full body of the email once I give it a number in which I want to respond to. Now we have to go to Zapier and set up the Zapier automation, and that's going to be another webhook that we can create in our GPT to actually send a post request. What we just created was a GET request, and this GET request gets information from another source. We want to post the information somewhere, so we're going to use another HTTP method with another webhook called a post request. So let's do that right now. Head over to Zapier.com, then select Create in the upper left-hand corner, and then you can select Zaps. And here it's going to try to have you work with AI, but you can work with me since I'm AI Foundations, and we can select the first event. What we want to select here is Webhooks by Zapier, and this is going to be an event that gets triggered from our GPT. For app and event, we want to go down to event and select catch hook. And when we catch hook, the trigger, we can leave empty, test, we can just leave that open right now. And now that we have our webhook set up in Zapier, before we hit test trigger, let's send some information to this webhook URL so that we can pull it for the other steps. What I'm going to do is go back to my school community and copy my schema for Zapier webhook. I'm going to triple click, hit Control C, and then I'm going to take that schema, and then I want to add another action. I'm going to hit create new action. I'm going to paste in the schema, and what you're going to notice is we have another red error, and that's because we need to add in our webhook path right here where it says your hook here. And so I'm going to go back to my Zapier, and after zapier.com, I'm going to copy from the backslash all the way to the backslash. Hooks, catch, numbers, and then numbers and letters. I'm going to hit Control C, head back here, and where it says your hook here, I'm going to paste in my Zapier webhook. Now we have a method of post. What I can do is this post is going to be able to send all of our properties that we have to our Zapier account. So I'm just going to test that so we can get a response to that Zap, because right now it's listening and it's connecting request. So as you can see, when I hit test trigger, it says no request found. But when we go back to our GPT and hit confirm on this post method after hitting test here, it says that it's successfully been sent to Zapier here with the following information. Beautiful. So now we can go to our untitled Zap, and if we refresh this page right here by hitting test trigger one more time, we now have a new request in here, and it has email address, subject, body, thread ID, page ID, database ID. It gives us everything we need to dynamically pull in for the next step when we're creating Gmails and updating Notion databases. So I can hit continue with selected record. Where I'm searching, I'm going to search for Gmail. Do not select legacy, just select the regular Gmail. And for your Gmail event, what you want to do is select that and hit create a draft reply. Here is where you can kind of choose your path into what you want to do. So, you could create labels, reply to emails, send an email, but I like creating draft replies so that I can reply to the actual thread and then I can send it when I'm ready. And under account, what I want to do is hit choose, and I can just connect a new account and connect the same account you connected in the very first scenario. Connect the account that's actually being watched for those emails so you can reply back with your same email. Then I'm going to hit continue and allow, and after that, I can get into the action. So I'm going to hit continue once again, and for thread, we now can go to custom and pull in the information that we just tested with our webhook. So for thread ID, obviously I just want my thread ID, and for the to, this is who we're going to send it to, we want the sender name, right? So we want that email address. Beautiful. Lastly, we just want the body in here. So I can enter in and select body. So these fields will be dynamically updating as new information comes in from GPT responses and as we send off these drafts. Next, I can hit continue. I don't have to test this. I can just skip the test. And then I need one more thing before we hit publish, and that's updating the Notion database. So I'm going to hit add step one more time and type in Notion. I'm going to spell it right though. That would be a good start. When I select Notion, we can choose an event and we just can type in update, and we want to select update database item. After we select that, we can hit continue. Now we need to choose our account, just like we did for the connections in Make. I'm going to hit choose, connect a new account. I'm going to go to my workspace, hit select pages, and then scroll down to the page that I want connected, which is the inbox of Drake. And then I can hit allow access. From there, I can hit continue once again. And for action, where it says database, I can now pull in my mailroom database just fine and hit mailroom. And we can just choose a value from our mailroom. And remember, the values in our mailroom, the pages, are the emails that we get pulled in. So we can just choose one just for the time being. We're going to change this back to those custom properties, but first we want to go down to status and then change that to replied. And now we can go up and change this to custom, catch hook, database ID, and then we can do the same for page ID, custom, catch hook, page ID. So now when we do run this, that field will be edited just fine. We can hit continue, and then we can skip the test. Now we can finally hit publish, and this thing should be up and running, all good to go. So that's very, very exciting stuff. And of course, you can add a filter in between here to make sure that the draft reply goes through before updating the database item, but I'm going to leave that alone for now. What we need to do next is we need to add in some instructions for our GPT in order to have these actions be run properly and in order for them to go through on an input-output basis. I can hit back now, and then when I open up the instructions, what I want to do is I want to add a few more things. I'm going to go to my adding make schema, and I just want to add in some instructions for fetching emails and for getting and for posting emails in Zapier. So I'm going to copy these instructions down here, and I'm going to paste them in to my GPT. Make sure that when you're pasting or typing in action instructions that you don't put any of your custom instructions beneath them. These should be the last things in your thread in order for it to work best. So I'm going to go back and then go to my adding schema to Zapier property. And then what we're going to do is take all of these instructions, including the note. I'm going to copy it in underneath the fetch emails for Notion. And just like that, we now have a working emailing system in Notion now that all of these properties are up to date. I can hit close, and then I can hit fetch emails, and we can test this out. So remember, from our first automation we made in Make, right over here that watches the emails, you can set this up on a schedule so it's automatically watching and pulling emails into your Notion database at all times. That email is just going to run on a schedule. You can have it pull in every time an email hits your inbox, every 1 minute, every 2 minutes, every 3 hours, maybe every morning at 8 o'clock, right before you check your email, and it will pull them all into your Notion database. And then from there, this automation, webhook to GPT, is running at all times. You just have it on, and immediately as data arrives, which is us saying fetch emails, it's going to run through this and give us this nice response. From there, everything takes place in the GPT. So once I hit always allow to this make automation here, it's going to run through this automation. So I'm going to hit always allow, and it's going to pull in all of the emails from our inbox in Notion. So as you can see, it says, here's a list of your recent emails. It's going to give me all of those emails here. Beautiful. Nice custom message. Which email do you want to tackle first? I can just type off a number 3 and send it off. Beautiful. Now we have subject, sender name, sender email, email body. And we get suggested responses. So we're really just typing in numbers and responding in a very quick format, in a very candor way. So I can just type in option 2, send it off. And keep in mind, the only reason it's doing this with the 3 options and typing in a nice tone and kind of sounding like me is because my custom instructions that I gave it here. Now, it's not necessarily going to sound like me yet, but when you start adding in knowledge files and start uploading information like FAQs to your GPT, that's when it really becomes powerful, because you can have templated responses to certain emails that come in your inbox, and you can have things really just set up in an easy, fun way in order to get through your inbox in the morning much quicker than ever before. So now I can hit confirm on this because I selected option 2. So now it's going to create a draft reply for option 2. And remember, what email are we responding to right now? Collaboration on an AI research paper. And as you can see, it says your email has successfully been sent to Morgan expressing your interest on ethics research paper and suggesting a meeting to discuss it further. Awesome. And it says, would you like to handle another email? If so, which one? You can have this message be custom too by adding in some more custom instructions here, but I can just say any of them, bring me one, and I can send it off. And while it's finding me this email, I can go back to my inbox. And as you can see, I only have 3 in the not reviewed section now and 1 in the replied section because we replied to it. And if I even go to my Gmail, as you can see, collaborating on an AI research paper is up top and it says draft. It has my entire email in here to Morgan that I wrote on ChatGPT. I can then just send it off. Very simple, very beautiful. And then you can just keep going through your entire email inbox like that. It makes things so quick and so custom to your workflow. So that's all I have for this video. I've been in the process of doing multiple more GPT automations, and the first place I'm going to post them is going to be in my AI Foundations community once again. So if you do want to join this community, if you go to the classroom here, you get access to this custom GPT workforce right when you join, and it's going to be having all of my automations in here. So I'm making a GPT response go into anything. So I'm going to have your GPT pull into Notion, pull into Google Sheets, pull into Google Docs. And I'm also taking a bunch of requests from the community. We have a presentations expert, an actions masterclass coming up. It's really the spot to be for artificial intelligence. So if that interests you, again, I'll leave it in the description or the top pinned comment. But I hope this has helped revolutionize the way that you think about GPTs, because nobody is really teaching this stuff on how to get information in and out of your GPT. So I wanted to be the person that could bring that to you and show you that it's possible in a couple of steps. I hope that this video was helpful for you. I hope you can take it and apply what you've learned for more automations with your GPTs. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video.